والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد، سيد المرسلين وخاتم النبيين، وعلى آله وأصحابه الطيبين الطاهرين، ومن اتبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، ولا شبيه ولا مثيل له، ولا ضد ولا ند ولا جسد ولا صورة ولا أعضاء له. كان الله ولا مكان، فهو الآن على ما عليه كان. فلا تضربوا لله الأمثال، ولله المثل الأعلى. تنزه ربي عن الجلوس والقعود، وعن الحركة والسكون، وعن الاتصال والانفصال. لا يحل فيه شيء ولا ينحل منه شيء، ولا يحل هو في شيء، لأنه ليس كمثله شيء. مهما تصورت ببالك، فالله لا يشبه ذلك. ومن وصف الله بمعنى من معاني البشر فقد كفر. وأشهد أن سيدنا وعظيمنا وقائدنا وقرة أعيننا محمدا عبد الله ورسوله، ونبيه وصفيه وحبيبه وخليله. أرسله الله هدى ورحمة للعالمين، هاديا ومبشرا ونذيرا، وداعيا إلى الله بإذنه سراجا وهاجا وقمرا منيرا. اللهم صل وسلم وأعظم وأنعم وأكرم على هذا النبي الكريم، كلما ذكره الذاكرون وغفل عن ذكره الغافلون. الصلاة والسلام عليك يا سيدي يا رسول الله. الصلاة والسلام عليك يا سيدي يا حبيب الله. الصلاة والسلام عليك يا سيدي يا عظيم الجاه. I praise Allah, I glorify Him, and I thank Him for all the blessings that He gave us without Him being obligated to give anything. And I ask Allah to raise the rank of our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam and protect his Muslim nation. I testify that no one deserves to be worshipped except Allah, the one without a partner, the one without an equal, the one without a similar, the one who is unlike anything in the universe, and nothing in the universe is like him. He has no father, no mother, no sister, no brother, no son, and no daughter. He exists without time and place because he is the creator of time and place. He does not reside above the throne, and he is not attributed with fatigue, like the Jews say. Our Lord is glorified beyond any imperfection that the non-Muslims attribute to him. Whatever you imagine in your mind, Allah Ta'ala does not resemble that. And whoever attributes an attribute of the creations to Allah is outside of Al-Islam. And I testify that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the son of Abdullah, the son of Abdul Muttalib, the son of Hashim, the son of Abdul Manaf, from the tribe of Quraysh, is the best creation of Allah and the final prophet and messenger sent to all humans and jinn, and he is truthful about everything that he conveyed of the revelation. Thereafter, remind ourselves to have the sincere intention for the sake of Allah in attending the session of Islamic knowledge, because having the sincere intention is a requirement to get the reward. So the Muslim, whenever he does a good deed, he has to have the sincere intention for the sake of Allah to get reward for that good deed. The reward is defined as the compensation that the Muslim receives in the hereafter for the good deeds that he did in this life among what makes him happy. An example of the reward that is guaranteed to the righteous Muslim in the grave is that his grave is expanded approximately 105 feet by 105 feet, and his grave is illuminated with a light similar to the light of the full moon, and the fragrance of paradise will be present in the grave. The sincere intention means for the Muslim to do the good deed, seeking the acceptance of Allah only, and not the praise of the people. So Alhamdulillah, we are grateful to Allah that we have been guided to Al-Islam. We're grateful and thankful and happy that Allah Ta'ala made our hearts open to Al-Islam and made our hearts accept the creed of Al-Islam. And we are grateful and thankful and happy that Allah Ta'ala has granted us access to the knowledge of Al-Islam, the knowledge of Ahlus Sunnati wal Jama'ah, with the authentic connected chains which validate the information. And so we would be absorbing and learning and understanding the teachings from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, connected from our times until those times. And so this is the way, this is the key to paradise. The knowledge of Ahlus Sunnah is the key to paradise, and the knowledge of Ahlus Sunnah is the life of Islam. So we're happy and grateful and thankful to Allah that we have been granted those blessings. So we're going to continue with our subject matter. We're on the sins of the tongue. And so the last thing that we mentioned is to give false testimony. So we mentioned that last time. So now we're moving on to the next thing, which is to put off paying a due debt despite being self-sufficient and able to pay. So basically this means that if a Muslim owes money to another Muslim and that Muslim has the money to pay, so he has the money to pay back the debt. But instead of paying, and this debt is due, so he has the money to pay, and the debt is due, meaning the person who owes the money, meaning the person who owes the money is able to pay. He has the money, the debt is due, but instead of paying, that person doesn't pay. Instead of paying, that person says, I'm gonna hold on to it a little bit longer. I'm gonna not pay right away, for example. So the person has the money to pay, but he will not pay. He has the money to pay, but he delays paying. So this person that does that, he's sinful. He's committing an enormous sin. Because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he warned against it. Okay, so that means that whenever a Muslim he borrows money or he takes a loan from another Muslim or he owes something, like for example, he bought an item to be paid later. He wants to pay it for example, uh, in a week or in a month, so that when he has the money, and let's say that time that he had to pay, let's say that time that he had to pay is due now. So the money is due. The money is the agreed upon time for when the payment is to be made, is this time is now. And that Muslim, he has the money to pay. He has the money that he owes, but instead of paying it, he doesn't pay. He waits longer. This is forbidden. because the person who is owed the money, they want their money. They want the money to be paid back. And since the time is due, then now it's when the agreed upon time has happened. So that person wants his money. So it is forbidden to delay or on purpose hold back from paying the debt. Um, and in this case, let's say if someone does that, right? If you lend someone money and the loan is due, and the person who you lent the money to, they have the money to pay you back, right? They have enough for their bare necessities plus that extra money that they owe you. If they refuse to pay you, if they say, for example, no, I'll give it to you next week when they have it right now and they're able to pay it now, in that case, it is permissible to expose them to the people and to tell the people that this person don't lend them money because they delay in paying you back. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he told us that it's permissible to warn against the person who delays paying the debt while he is able to pay it. So that's one thing. Another thing is that if, let's say, you are able to, or you have access to, or there's some way where you can get the money that that person owes you from that person, even if it was without their consent, even if it was without that person, for example, handing it to you. So, like, uh, let's say, for example, let's say they have a bag, for example, with them, right? Like, they're at a restaurant or they're at the gym or something. They have a bag with them, and you know that the money's in that bag, the money that is owed to you. Um, and you know that that person is not paying you back, even though they have it, even though they're able to. So in this case, also, it's permissible for you to take the money out of their bag, the money that's owed to you, to take the money out of their bag without their consent. So those two things are permissible um, for the person if they're in that situation. So what does it mean then? It means that the one who does this type of thing, where he is able to pay and he has the money, but he delays it, this person, you can warn against them and you can take the money from them, like the money that they owe you, without their consent. Uh, any questions about that before moving on? طيب. Next one is to give false testimony. I'm sorry, no. Next one is to I'll say it says to cuss, but it's really to insult and to insult. So basically, um, calling someone a derogatory name, like calling someone dumb or calling someone a donkey or calling someone stupid. This is an insult. Uh, whether it's about their physical appearance or their mental capability, or for example, the the type of, let's say, career or job that they have, or where they live, or what they drive. Yeah, saying something derogatory or negative that insults that person, um, that insults that Muslim. This is an enormous sin. And also, to damn is also an enormous sin. So let's start with the explaining the insulting part. So Al-Bukhari narrated that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Insulting the Muslim is an enormous sin, and killing him is uh, a real big, enormous sin." So, and many Muslims, they seem to not be careful about this matter. They seem to be careless about this matter. Because they call each other stupid, they call each other idiot. They say, and this is an insult. This is an insult. So you cannot insult a Muslim. So you can't say anything to a Muslim that insults them. And basically, like, that degrades a certain aspect of their life that is normally an aspect of life that people seek honor and dignity in. So like we said, like the physical appearance and like what the person owns and what the person, like their career and things like that. So, or like about their mental capability, to say insulting things to them is an enormous sin. As for damning, right? Because we're doing both of these together. To ask Allah to damn someone unrightfully. So as for damning, when in Arabic, when we say, for example, la'natullah, it means asking Allah to, like if we say, for example, la'natullahi ala fulan, if we say, may God's damn be upon so and so. Um, this this statement, it means, oh Allah, make so and so far away from goodness, or make so and so banished from goodness. And damning the Muslim is among the enormous sins. And it means like to say to a person, may God's damn be upon you, or God damn you, or you are damned, or you are among the people of damnation. Those are all the examples. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, damning the Muslim is like killing him. So basically, it's not permissible to damn the Muslim. Now the Shafi'is, they have a difference of opinion about damning the specific kafir. The Shafi'is, some of them said it is permissible to damn the specific kafir, and to damn and to damn the specific sinful Muslim if it was for a valid religious reason. So if it was for a valid religious reason, then we could damn the sinful Muslim, the specific sinful Muslim. Like if he was a scammer or a tyrant and he does not have mercy upon the orphans or the oppressed, rather he consumes their rights so that he can, live an extravagant life. And damning him is not for entertainment, by mentioning the defects of people, rather with the intention of deterring him and warning against him and warning against doing something similar, so that others, they don't feel free to do it, so others don't imitate him in that. So whoever sees an enormous sinner Muslim, like the one who sells alcohol, and so he damns him, not to deter him and not to deter the people from doing what he's doing without anyone else hearing him, it is not permissible. It is not permissible. And whoever says that it is permissible, then they blaspheme, except if they are like a new Muslim. Because, let's say, damning a Muslim under your breath is not ordering the lawful and forbidding the unlawful. And some Shafi'is, they said it is not permissible to damn the specific person, even if they were a kafir, except the one who it is known that he would die as a kafir, like Iblis, like the Pharaoh, like Qarun, and like Haman, and like Abu Jahl, and those that are like them. any non-Muslim that Allah Ta'ala has revealed about them that they will die as non-Muslims, then according to those other Shafi'is, they're saying that it's permissible to damn them, those specific ones, because it's known that they're going to die as non-Muslims. Now, after they die, and after the person dies, then you judge them by what's apparent. So if you know someone that is a non-Muslim, and then were exposed to Islam, you taught them, or you tried to get them to embrace Islam, but they didn't, and they didn't tell you that they embraced Islam, they didn't agree or whatever, they didn't say the Shahada in front of you, or it wasn't confirmed for you that they said the Shahada, and then they died. Then after that person dies, you can say, may God's damn be upon so and so, because he died as a kafir, and according to you, apparently, he died as a kafir, so may God's damn be upon him. So it would be fine. It would be okay to say. And also, the person, when the non-Muslim dies, the Muslim, if he's not going to say may God's name be upon him, then for sure he should not be saying rest in peace, because we all know that Islamically, the kafir, once they die, they don't rest in peace. Any questions about that before moving on? Oh, we have a question here. It says, even if they said something true while insulting. Yes, even if they said something true while insulting, it is forbidden. And the reason that it's sinful to insult a Muslim is not because they're lying about him. No, it's because it's forbidden to hurt a Muslim's feelings. It's not permissible to damn the Muslim in general. In general, it's not permissible to damn the Muslim. The case that we're explaining is about when it's permissible to damn a Muslim. It's a very specific case. But in general, you cannot damn a Muslim. But there's one specific case where if there's a Muslim who's an enormous sinner and he's out there, you know, doing enormous sins out in the open, so a person with the intention of stopping him from doing those enormous sins and deterring him from doing those enormous sins, and with the intention of, by me saying these words, that Muslim's going to wake up out of his state of heedlessness, and that Muslim is going to realize I'm in a bad situation because people are damning me, so I'm going to stop doing this enormous sin. With that intention, and with the intention of warning the people against him and deterring the people and um, letting the people see, like, this is what's going to happen to you if you take the same path, and because the person doesn't want to be damned. So with that intention, the person says, may God's damn be upon you, or God damn you, or something like that. Not with the intention of entertainment, not with the intention of fulfilling or satisfying a desire, just with the intention of deterring that enormous sinner Muslim and deterring the people from following his path. He says that in that very specific situation, it's permissible to damn the Muslim. And other than that, it's forbidden to damn the Muslim. So it's only one very specific situation where it is permissible to damn the Muslim. And as for the kafir, the specific, we're talking about a specific person. As for if the person says, may God's damn be upon those who drink alcohol, that's a different story. But we're talking about the specific person. And remember that since it's warning, it has to be that other people hear this damnation. So the person can't say it under his breath. He can't say it like, well, he's alone by himself in a room. He can't say, may God damn such and such Muslim, because there's no warning taking place here. So it's something that is done out loud, like in front of people. Any more questions about that before moving on, continuing on? No, if let's say if it's just two of them, but it has to be that, someone hears him, like either that person that he's talking about or the other people that are there that know that person, for example. So let's say that it's one on one. There's the Muslim who's going to damn him and the Muslim who is being damned for being an enormous sinner. So he tells him, may God's damn be upon you, with the intention of deterring him and stopping him and waking him up and reforming him and scaring him so that he doesn't do the sin anymore, not for entertainment, not to satisfy anger, not to fulfill a desire, just for that reason. In that case, is permissible. Or there is, let's say, a gathering of people, and for example, such and such person says, what happened to me yesterday? This person who is this, known to be an enormous sinner or this or that, he did such and such unjust thing to me. And so one person there, with the intention of warning, with the intention of deterring, with the intention of making people see that they shouldn't follow this path, they say, may God's damn be upon him, not with the intention of entertainment, not with the intention of fulfilling a desire, then in that case is permissible. So in one scenario, you have the person who is being damned that is present there, and you're telling them directly. And in another scenario, that person's not there, but there's other people there. So you're doing it to deter and to warn those people against doing such a thing, because or else people are going to damn you. So it could be that the person is there, it could be that the person is not there. Naam. So finishing this case, the correct saying, because remember we said that the Shafi'is, they did have a difference of opinion. Some said that it's permissible to damn the specific kafir, and some Shafi'is said it is not permissible to damn the specific kafir, except if we know that they are going to die as a kafir, like Iblis. We know that Iblis is going to die as a kafir, so we can say La'natullahi ala Iblis. We can say, may God's name be upon Iblis. Because we know that he's going to die as a kafir. We know that Iblis is not going to uh, repent. So because of that, we can damn him. But so the correct saying is the saying that it is permissible to damn a specific kafir. And the first saying that we mentioned, that's the correct saying. And because there's many proofs for that, like the hadith that is narrated by Bukhari and Muslim, in which the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he explains that um, where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam explains that it is something permissible. Um, any questions about that before moving on? So like we said, the correct saying is that it is permissible to damn the specific kafir. So you can damn your own devil because they're kafir. Um, so that damning that we mentioned is a specific person. Yeah, talking about a specific person. As for damning through description without specifying, then all of them are in agreement that it is permissible. Like for someone to say, may God's damn be upon the liars, or may God's damn be upon the scammers, or may God's damn be upon the tyrants, or may God's damn be upon the non-Muslims, or may God's damn be upon those who consume usurious gain, or the like. Any questions about that before moving on? So all of them are in agreement that it is permissible to damn with a description. So if someone says, may God's damn be upon the liars, it's permissible. If someone says, may God's damn be upon the scammers, it's permissible. If someone says, may God's damn be upon the unjust, it's permissible. If someone says, may God's damn be upon the kafirs, it's permissible. If someone says, may God's damn be upon those who consume usurious gain, it's permissible. This is by um all of them agree about this. There's no difference of opinion about it. Also, it is not permissible to damn a harbi kafir if we feared that he would. I'm not saying not damn. Insult. It is not permissible to insult a harbi kafir if we feared that he would insult Allah or the prophets or Islam. So if you were to insult a non-Muslim and you feared that they would, let's say, insult Islam or insult the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then it's not permissible to insult them. Yeah, which last part is there? Uh, there's someone said, can you repeat the last part? Which last part? No, when the person does it with description, nobody has to hear him. Yeah. So yeah, moving on. To mock a Muslim or say anything that harms them. This is also an enormous sin because, like we said, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, whoever insults a Muslim has committed an enormous sin. Um, and even if it's true, remember we said if someone says something true behind a Muslim's back that he hates to be mentioned, this is called ghiba. But if you say it to his face now, you're insulting him now. So to mock a Muslim or say anything that harms a Muslim is an enormous sin. And many Muslims nowadays, they don't pay attention to this matter. They make fun of a Muslim, they imitate his voice, they imitate his gesture, like to laugh, to make fun of the person. They degrade the Muslim, they say harmful words to the Muslim. So this is an enormous sin. Now, if the speech that supposedly harmed the Muslim, if it was with a religious right, then there's no problem with that because uh it's not transgressing. And because, for example, someone could have, let's say, done something unjust, and if the person, like, with a valid religious right, tells them, gives them a speech, and that person, they felt really emotional about that speech, it doesn't, they're not sinful for that because they did it with a religious right. But to say harmful words to a person when they, and then without a religious right, then this is a sin. This is sinful. And likewise, saying something harmful to a person is sinful, and doing something harmful to a Muslim and making a harmful gesture to a Muslim is also sinful. As for the Muslim parent saying to their child, even if they were pubescent, "Oh donkey," to discipline him, this is permissible. And it is as if he said to him, "Oh, you slow to understand." Likewise, if he told him, "Oh, stupid," or "Oh, you with little manners," if that was among his attributes. Likewise, it is permissible to hit him for discipline, a hitting that does not contain harm. So you can't break their arm. You can't you can't maim them. You can't, for example, like paralyze them or hit them in the face. You cannot hit a Muslim in the face. Whether pubescent or non pubescent. We said that even if they were pubescent, so it's pubescent and non pubescent for the Muslim parent to say to their Muslim child. Yeah, we'll just say to their Muslim offspring. Because all of you adults here right now, you are your parents' children, are you not? Still, even though you're adults, because child means like offspring. So you're still your parents' child and the offspring. Even if you become 90 years old, you still are your parents' child. Um, so some people think that, and even in Arabic, some people think that the word child is specific to the young or the non-pubescent person. But you will always be your mother's child or your father's child. Anyway, the point is whether the Muslim offspring is pubescent or not pubescent, the Muslim parent, for discipline, not so that they can blow off steam, not so that they can satisfy a desire, not so that they can get some sort of satisfaction. For discipline, the Muslim parent, it's permissible for him to call his Muslim child a donkey. Yes. Because it's as if he's saying, oh, you slow to understand. Um, it's not for the non-pubescent child only. It's whether they're pubescent or not pubescent. Um, yeah, so Muslim parents need to be careful. Your Muslim children, they're not your property, and they have rights as well. And some Muslim parents, they do not. Well, firstly, because of ignorance. Secondly, because of uh, some cultural, misguided cultural things. But some Muslim parents really they don't treat their Muslim children well. So just remember that we have to treat our children well because they're our children and they're our responsibility. Um, of course, the Muslim children they should obey their Muslim parents, etc. Um, with some Muslim parents, they abuse their Muslim children, and this is bad. This is very bad. So it is something that people need to be careful with. Moving on, the author said to lie about Allah or His Messenger. So among the sins of the tongue is to lie about Allah and also to lie about His Messenger. And there is no difference of opinion that that is among the enormous sins. Allah Ta'ala revealed in the Quran, ويوم القيامة ترى الذين كذبوا على الله وجوههم مسودة. Which means on Judgment Day, you'll see the people that they lied about Allah, their faces will be darkened. As for lying about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it has come in the hadith, the emphasized deterrent to not do it. And that is like saying, that is the saying of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, إن كذبا علي ليس ككذب على أحد فمن كذب علي متعمدا فليتبوأ مقعده من النار. which means lying about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is not like lying about any other human, any other than the prophets. So whoever lies about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam on purpose, then let him take his seat in the hellfire. So this is a very emphatic and very emphasized prohibition, because it's as if the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is saying, whoever does this, then let them prepare themselves to go to hell. Because it's an enormous sin. Among the lying about Allah and His Messenger that leads to blasphemy is like to attribute to Allah deeming something permissible that Allah made forbidden in the revealed law, and likewise attributing to Allah forbidding something that He made permissible for the Muslims, or attributing to Allah uh, or attributing to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam making something permissible that Allah Ta'ala has made forbidden. So this is an example of that. But also, like, for example, like the Wahhabis, they say that Allah is physically above the throne, or that He's established above the throne, or that that He moves up and down and He goes up and down. So this is a lie because it's not true, and that lie is blasphemy. For example, some misguided people say, which is blasphemy as well. They say that they lie about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they say that he wanted to commit suicide. So this is a lie about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that is to the level of blasphemy. So this is something that should be avoided. Any lying about Allah or lying about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The next one is to make a false claim. So, among the enormous sins is for a person to make a claim about something or someone that is not his right, relying upon the false testimony or relying upon his social status. Like to say, for example, so and so owes me such and such, when in reality he does not owe him. And this is among the enormous sins. Then the author said, to issue an uncanonical divorce, which is the divorce that takes place during menses or during an interval of purity in which he had sexual intercourse with his wife. So when we say uncanonical divorce, it's referring to this specific divorce, meaning divorcing the wife while she's on her period. This is sinful. Or divorcing her when she's not on her period, but the sexual intercourse has taken place. So let's say that they had intercourse on Monday, and on Friday, and before she gets her period, he divorces her. This is forbidden. This is sinful. If he has intercourse with her on Monday, then he has to wait until she gets her period and until she gets off of it to divorce her, and to do it in a way that they won't get a sin. But if they do it while she's on her period, or they do it while she's in a period of purity, a non-bleeding interval, then the divorce still goes through, but the husband gets a sin. And it's sunnah for him, and in that case, when he does that haram divorce, it's sunnah for him to bring her back. And then, if he wants, to divorce her when it's permissible. Any questions about that before going to the next one? Oh, yep. The next one is, among the sins of the tongue is lihar. It's an Arabic term, lihar, which is to say to one's wife, "You are to me like my mother's back," meaning I will not have sexual intercourse with you. If he does not divorce her immediately after saying that, he has to pay an expiation. The expiation is to free a non-defective Muslim slave. If unable, he is obligated to fast 2 consecutive months, and if unable, he is obligated to feed 60 poor people, 60 mud. So basically, there is a way of insulting that the Arabs used to do before the Prophet ﷺ received revelation. In the era of ignorance, there was a way that the non-Muslims would insult their women. So which is that they would tell their wife, I will never have sexual intercourse with you, just like I will never have sexual intercourse with my mom. So they basically tell their wife, I'm going to treat you like my mom in this aspect. I'm never going to have sex with you, ever. So this is something sinful to say to your wife. It's sinful to say that to your wife. To tell her, uh, I'm never going to have sexual intercourse with you ever. I'm treating you like my mother. I'm treating you like my sister. I'm never going to have intercourse with you. Um, so this is an enormous sin to say that to his wife because this harms her. And that Muslim who said that to his wife, he gets a sin for saying it. And then immediately after saying it, if he doesn't immediately after that divorce her, then he has to pay an expiation. And it'll be forbidden for him to have intercourse with her until he pays. So, what is that payment that he has to pay? It is something that it is doable. It's something that is doable. Something that the person can do, but it's something that will make the person feel the regret of doing that, the regret of saying that to his wife, because the first one is if he has it, obviously, if he has a non-defective Muslim slave, then he could just say to that Muslim slave, "You're free." But let's say that, for example, he was very attached to that Muslim slave, um, was, let's say, enjoying the luxury that came with having that Muslim slave. But he could just say to the Muslim slave, "You are free," and then that's it. He paid the expiation, and now he can go back to normal, and he with his wife.
But if he doesn't have a Muslim slave and he doesn't, let's say, have the means to buy one and free them, then what happens is that what's the next thing he has to do? He has to fast 2 consecutive lunar months. And he can't even miss one day. If he misses one day, then he has to go back to the beginning. And if he's not able to fast the 2 consecutive lunar months, and he's, let's say, physically unable, then he has to feed 60 poor Muslims. Each one of them, he feeds them one mud. And what he gives them is whatever is valid to be given for zakat al-fitr. طيب. And Allah Ta'ala knows best. From now on, we're going back to normal schedule of 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 11 a.m. Miami time, 11 a.m. New York time, 11 a.m. Philadelphia time, 11 a.m. I think Toronto time, and Eastern Standard Time. So whatever time it is in New York, 11 a.m. When it's 11 a.m. in New York, that's when the lesson will start. Inshallah, next week. Because the only reason that we did the lesson at this different time is because I was part of this seminar, this online seminar for. Actually, it was a very good book. It's a book that I've taken before, but there was this Shaykh that was giving it that I really wanted to take it from him because he's actually a colleague. The book is called The Eight Rules, and it's a book about the 8 rules of how to distinguish between blasphemy and belief. So, inshallah, after we finish this, maybe we would go over something like that. But for now, I just want to finish the obligatory knowledge and then we'll see what we continue with next. But that's the reason why we had to change the time. And so that's over. So yeah, we're back to the normal schedule, 11 a.m. And now looking at the questions here, yes, it's for the husband that says to his wife, "You are like my mother's back," and he doesn't divorce her right away after he says that. He's obligated to pay an expiation, and it's forbidden for him to have intercourse with her until he pays. Next question is, how can we answer if someone claims that our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam wanted to commit suicide? Well, we told him that this is something that, suicide is an enormous sin, and the prophets, they don't commit enormous sins. But yeah, some people, they do say that about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam because they um, and because they use their own mentality and their own opinions to interpret things that require, the explanation through revelation, and that require the proper understanding. So for example, like one thing that these people don't understand, because usually, yeah, the non-Muslims, they're the ones who bring this up a lot. But for example, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was ordered to fight jihad. So as you know, jihad, means physically, physical fighting. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was ordered to fight the idol worshippers. For what? Why was he ordered to fight the idol worshippers? It wasn't to, for example, for something in the dunya. It wasn't for something in this world. It was for Islam, because blasphemy is the biggest sin, and we're obligated to order the lawful, forbid the unlawful, to change what is haram if we're able to with our hands, for example, right? So for us, since we have the proper understanding, we know that it's a good thing, that jihad is a good thing, because it's eradicating blasphemy. It's changing something that is very, 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 very bad, and stopping it. But the people who don't have the right mentality, they'll say, "Oh, the prophet, he was a murderer." Na'udhu billah. The people that don't have the proper understanding, they'll say, "Oh, the prophet, he loved war," because they are ignorant. They don't understand. They try to use something that is not dispraised in Islam, and they try to talk about it, or they try to say about it that it is dispraised. For example, like the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam having multiple wives. The non-Muslims, because they don't have the right mentality, they insult the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they say that he was a womanizer. This is blasphemy. But we know that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is not like that. That he's not a womanizer. So him having multiple wives is not related to him. For example, let's say having lust for women, because he's the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So when the Prophet does certain things, it has to be interpreted in the proper way, not in an ugly way. And the people who interpret the things that the prophets do in an ugly way, these people themselves have an ugly mentality. So basically, the what happened is that there's a certain type of feeling that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam felt, and he wanted to, let's say, relieve himself of that feeling. Um, Similar to how, for example, if you as a Muslim, if you're feeling, let's say, overwhelmed or something like that, in order to relieve yourself, what do? Let's say, you take a deep breath and you say, Subhanallah or Alhamdulillah or something like that, and need to alleviate. Or, for example, you might do like some sort of physical exercise, like you might go for a run, or you might do some push-ups, for example, so that you can release some pent-up pressure. So when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he there was a certain amount of time where um, Angel Jibreel alayhi salam did not reveal anything to him, did not come to him with the revelation. It was like a pause in the revelation. Uh, so during that time, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he felt a certain and a certain feeling of and he wants the revelation to continue, and he is missing it, and so he knew that he would not be harmed. He knew that he would not harm himself. So basically, he wanted to jump from a high place, but he knew that if he jumped, that nothing would happen to him. That he would, for example, land properly. That he would land safely. So this is and the Prophet ﷺ did not want to commit suicide. He knew that he wouldn't die if he, let's say, jumped from that high place. It was just to and it so that he can relieve the emotion that he was feeling from the pause of revelation. But he didn't even end up doing it, but yeah, just that he was wanting to do it. But what he wanted to do was not to kill himself, because he knew if he jumped from that high place, he would not be harmed. طيب, any other questions? طيب, نهلل لا إله إلا الله اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. ربي اغفر لي وللمؤمنين والمؤمنات. بارك الله فيكم. السلام عليكم.